Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the common water-type Pokemon Basculin, the hostile Pokemon. In terms of appearance, Basculin come in two distinct forms that are identical in terms of stats and the moves they can learn, but otherwise differ significantly in their physical attributes and abilities. These forms are referred to as Red and Blue Basculin, with the names corresponding to the color of their eyes and the scale stripe that runs laterally from the front of their heads to the ends of their tails. In Red Basculin, as the name suggests, the scale stripe is red in color, and rims a large section of black scales on top of their bodies that serves to help as counter shading, which makes them look dark like the water below them to fool predators looking at them from above. Additionally, they possess round red eyes and barbed fins that match the dorsal fin running along the top and back of their bodies. For Blue Basculin, on the other hand, this stripe is blue, their eyes are blue with a more slit-like appearance, and their fins have a more curved shape to them in comparison to their red counterpart. The primary body color for both types is a moderate tone green, with a series of spot patterns on the side to help to break up their body color in the water to make them a bit harder to spot from afar, which is crucial when in the presence of predators that feed on them for sustenance. Red and Blue Basculin differ as well in terms of abilities, as while they can both possess adaptability as a basic ability, due to their strong affinity with the attributes of the water type, and Mold Breaker as their hidden ability as a byproduct of their overall behavior, they have two other base abilities that differ between the varieties, with Red Basculin gaining access to the Reckless ability due to being slightly more aggressive than their counterpart, and Blue Basculin gaining access to the Rock Head ability due to their slightly thicker skulls. Basculin share a lot in common with non-Pokemon species of fish in terms of their overall biology and behave much the same, feeding on smaller fish on their own and only attacking larger prey when in the presence of a school where they have the advantage of numbers on their side. This can be directly observed in their stats, as while their base attack and speed stats are slightly above average for fully evolved water-type Pokemon, everything else is below average, in particular their defensive stats. They can deal some decent damage, but they are unable to take much of the way of punishment themselves. As such, they are often powerless against stronger predatory Pokemon and are usually made a meal of rapidly. This includes humans as well, as these fish are known to taste quite well when properly cooked. In association with their close connection to non-Pokemon fish species, Basculin are fairly limited in terms of the type of offense they are capable of, as the only special attacks they learn naturally are the Water Gun attack, which they have access to from birth, Uproar, which is the first new move they gain access to after birth, and the unusual Final Gambit attack they acquire late in life. Everything else is physical in nature. This isn't to say that they don't have a lot going for them in the offense department though, as Basculin gain access to powerful attacks like Crunch, Awkward Tail, and Double Edge fairly early in their life, even eventually gaining access to the devastating Head Smash attack. While they might not be incredibly special on this note alone, Basculin are a threat to many other life forms because of their incredibly hostile and aggressive tendencies. When in large numbers, these creatures will viciously attack and assault anything that doesn't directly feed on them, striking with their rugged bodies and sharp fangs to deliver powerful blows that can drive most other Pokemon away. In fact, their aggressive tendencies can be such a problem that only Pokemon like Corphish and Crawdaunt, which are known for their own aggressive tendencies, are capable of living with them, earning Basculin the appropriate nickname of the Thug of the Lake. This is made worse by the fact that these creatures have adapted to both fresh and saltwater environments, though in the latter case this is primarily due to importing, as they generally prefer to dwell in freshwater environments. What makes Basculin truly fascinating from a scientific perspective, however, is the fact that they are actively undergoing the process of Sympatric speciation. When looking at evolution and the division of parent species into multiple daughter species, there are three main types of speciation, which itself involves the halting of gene transfer between populations of a single species, and is reflective of the isolation of these populations. First, there is allopatric speciation, where division in populations occurs due to the presence of some sort of geographic barrier, whether it be the presence of a landscape feature like a mountain that separates populations of a particular species from one another, the presence of large bodies of water, or something else. The point is that the physical isolation prevents gene transfer between these populations through reproduction, so changes that occur in one population are isolated from the others and help to divide it from the other populations until eventually becoming different enough to register as a distinct new species from the original parent species. In parapatric speciation, the act of species generation occurs among species populations that are geographically adjacent to one another, with the process occurring despite limited interbreeding between the two populations. This generally occurs due to the occupation of specific open niches in adjacent environments that lead to the development of unique, species-defining traits that separate a parent species into multiple new ones. Sympatric speciation, the process Basculin are undergoing, is the result of a parent species diverging into new daughter species with no readily apparent geographical or ecological divide separating the two. This is the rarest and most difficult form of speciation to study and understand. As while it is known to occur, it is rare enough that it is uncertain how often it truly happens, and in turn its causes are poorly understood. In the case of Basculin, both red and blue varieties have developed distinct physical characteristics that separate them easily in terms of appearance, and their behavior has already changed in accordance with this, as red and blue Basculin rarely ever get along and will often fight with each other over territory in a body of water, even though they are still biologically compatible with one another as breeding partners, demonstrating that complete speciation has yet to fully occur. There are further hints that this process is still incomplete, as while they are usually hostile towards one another, it has been observed that Basculin of different colors will sometimes be allowed to live with the school of a different color. This is due to these outsiders being male and likely carrying good genes, making them valuable breeding partners, as the offspring produced by Basculin of different colors will always match the color of the female parent, and therefore will more likely add to the majority of the school. Though they might not be as impressive looking as other water-type Pokemon to some, Basculin are still fascinating creatures that demonstrate a very rare type of speciation that is otherwise difficult to observe in nature. The overall combat abilities may leave something to be desired, but their aggressive natures and access to powerful physical attacks can still give them a chance at being a menace in battle when up against an opponent that isn't able to easily capitalize on their limited defenses and move variety. If you plan on working with these fish, do yourself a favor and make sure that you wear proper protective gear until they are properly trained. They themselves might make a tasty meal to many, but they will gladly bite the hand that feeds them if it doesn't give them the space and respect that they rightfully deserve.